Clouds start to lift as well throughout the day, so fingers crossed on that.
Well, take it as it comes. This is
That's it.
the weather.
Was this your first time in Canada?
Yep.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Yeah. You guys came in through Vancouver?
Yeah, flew into Vancouver and then drove up.
Nice.
And then get a bit of, Jasper, almost down to Calgary and then back down again.
Nice one, yeah, sweet. So
Did a bit of mileage.
the full loop, yeah, you guys
Well,
rented
try,
a car?
yeah. The same, we do the same in Europe.
Yeah, no doubt. Nice. So you probably noticed I don't have a steering wheel here, so it's all kind of what I do with the joystick, which is nice and easy. Our other 8-wheelers, they're kind of like a manual.
Yeah, that would have been the older
skid steer.
Skid steer.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like a helicopter with all the displays up top there.
Try to get that bastard move.
Sorry? Yeah, all good, mate. He'll be doing it in a second. Looks like he's all unloaded. It's not really a parking spot he's in, so I'm not sure why he's parked there in the first place. That's always quite funny. We get a lot of folks just coming on the regular tour here that'll sort of get stuck in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And it's always a cat and mouse game and people just circling around there. So you get a little crazy on the public holidays and whatnot.
Yeah, I must admit it says Us Odyssey parking.
Yeah,
And then it's like, I said, where? And there's no, and then it says reserved. Is that for us? Is that reserved for?
They like to complicate things. Everything's also got a fancier name than it needs to, whatever it is. It's moving here, beautiful.
So this isn't Chirp itself. It's just
Correct. So it's a company called Fat Truck. So they're out of
okay.
Quebec. So yeah, the other ones are Ukrainian made.
That's right. That's where I first saw them. Not in Ukraine, but on YouTube,
Oh yeah,
and how capable they are.
yeah,
And then
absolutely.
I think there was somebody either in Canada or America who brought one in, and then it just
Yeah, massively so. So I think with this company, what kind of happened was the workers from Quebec, they were like engineers or something like this, working for Sharp, and they saw a lot of flaws with the Sharp, and they kind of re-engineered it and started making.
of course it's adapting to the environment that it's working in.
Yeah, absolutely. So our tires, they have their own like onboard compressor as well, so we can kind of
Oh,
adjust
okay.
that as we go here as well. A little noisier here. Just while we're on the road, it'll quiet down once we're up there.
Tires can't be cheap on this thing.
No, I think I'm not exactly sure how much the Fat Truck comes out. I know for the Sharp they're about $6,000 per tire. And we've got 8 of them in this one too. So. A little busier out here now.
It is.
Towards the end of shoulder season after this long weekend, we'll be busy until pretty well the end of August now.
So the glaciers, they permanently, it doesn't recede. Way back.
These ones are currently receding, yeah. So
does it?
we'll be able to see exactly how much they have once we kind of get to that first stop there. Quite shocking out here, to be honest. Yeah. Even just in the 3 years that I've been working out here myself, I've personally noticed a fair few changes. We had a lot of people try and overtake us as well, which is always quite comical. articulate in the middle as well. So you can
I
make
saw
like an
the-
A-frame or a V-shape.
I saw the hydraulics there.
Yeah, so it's mainly like the hydrostatic.
And it's all 8 wheels that drive.
Pardon me?
I said it's all 8 wheels that drive.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's just the computer that kind of coordinates however it's going to respond. Now the embarrassing part is we can drive across lakes, we can drive across rivers, we can drive on glaciers. I have to get out to open the boot gate.
I think they would have solar powered it.
Yeah, we do have a floor, but it's in the other one at the moment. These ones are so new, they haven't quite got the everything set up. fit about 56 people. On a given day, if it's really busy, we might be running 12 of those buses out at any given time. So it can get quite busy out there. It's one of my favorite things about this tour is we're able to kind of avoid the crowds a little better.
Yeah, that's actually why we chose this. Could have gone on the bus, but we're not big into the crowd because normally you'll end up waiting for one person
Yeah.
and everybody's waiting.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, it's much more this is our first stop. So let's see how windy it is over here. Oh, it's a bit breezy. Do you prefer that close enough?
No, that's fine. Fine.
Too easy. Cool. So yeah, this is our first stop, and just out front of us is the lovely Athabasca Glacier. That word Athabasca comes from the Cree First Nations, and it means where the reeds grow. This
Okay.
water kind of feeds into another glacier and river rather. And
Right.
yeah, believe it or not, there are reeds in that river. Not so much this one. The Athabasca River is just up by Jasper as well. So
Yes,
you,
yes, saw that.
did you guys stop at like Athabasca Falls
Yep,
or
we
anything
did
like
that. Yeah. Or the two falls on the other one with an S.
Shinwapta?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So this one here's the Shinwapta River, which eventually sort of turns into the Athabasca.
Okay.
And of course, all that water.
Come from yeah.
Yeah. So this particular glacier itself, it's around 18,000 years old. So it's obviously
I don't
quite
feel
ancient.
so bad. Then.
Yeah, totally. And all of its ice is coming from higher up in the valley there, from the ice field, the Columbia ice field. So if we managed to climb any of the mountains around us, you would pretty much just see real ocean of white as far as your eye can see. It's truly enormous up there. You've got about 165 square kilometers of ice. So yeah,
That is big.
certainly
And
is.
Pushing its way all the way down here.
Yeah, exactly right. So imagine it kind of like a big basin,
Okay.
that's kind of filling with ice and snow over tens of thousands of years. And as it overflows, that's where our glaciers come into the picture.
Yeah, so it doesn't really melt.
Yeah, exactly right. Not up on the ice fields.
So how far back in the peak of summer would this recede back?
It looked pretty similar to now.
So it won't actually go back past more or less what it is now.
Yeah, not so
Okay,
much.
so it is very hard.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's permanent, well, semi-permanent, I suppose. It is always kind of melting, and there's water coming off of it. On a given summer, it might lose about 20 to 40 meters of length.
That's like,
Yeah, pretty minuscule.
yeah, so you wouldn't even
Advanced.
notice it. You know?
100%. And so you'll see like a lot more blue as time passes as well. Obviously, that fresh snow kind of melts away, and you'd see a bit more texture later in the summer. And it kind of looks like there'd be a few veins of water kind of running down the surface. All these little rivers kind of running down the ways there. You can see one that's kind of forming on that left-hand side there.
Right, yes, okay.
Yeah, so we'll kind of be heading just to the left. You see that little black box sort of towards the end of the road there. It's a bit hard to spot, but yeah, a bit past the Ice Explorers there to a private stretch of the glacier. Now out there we're looking at about 250 meters of ice beneath us as well. So enough to bury the Pyramid of Giza below. So truly quite a deep, obviously.
So deep valley, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, 100%.
So does the water flow underneath?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it just edge melting?
So both on the surface and underneath.
And underneath.
I like to always tell people it's kind of like a bit of an ant's nest underneath there. There are kind of vast networks of these pipes kind of running deep below the surface. Normally, on average, they'll max out at about 60 meters or so deep, just as the sun doesn't really get much
anywhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, and kind of as that water heats up, it'll kind of make a bit of a spiral and cause it to kind of shift all downhill there. And I call that a mill well. You may have heard the term crevasse before, so
Yes.
they're kind of interused. The difference being that mill wells are caused by that water spiraling, and crevasses are caused more by
Movement.
more so as it's moving, the ground underneath is quite uneven, and so different points are moving at vastly different speeds. A lot of pressure is going to build up there, and eventually you get the cracks. And then, kind of on average, it's moving at about the same speed your fingernails would be growing. So yeah, you probably won't see it or feel it moving too much while we're out there.
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you're looking at kind of like 150 years for a piece of ice to come to the
down.
full length of the glacier there. So if the ice field itself, or rather if the glacier is moving kind of like a river, the ice field isn't moving as much. It's kind of just like that stationary mass.
Right.
It's more similar to a lake of ice. And then that chunky section that we see in the distance, kind of the staircase, is it's essentially a waterfall connecting the two there. We call that the head wall, the ice fall. And up there, that's where the ice is least stable and where it's definitely moving the fastest. It's quite steep underneath there. Also, the same place where they filmed the original Superman movie in 1982.
Oh,
The Christopher Reeves era, so his little home planet was right up on top.
oh, okay. Oh, they could have gone almost anywhere.
Yeah, totally, right? Yeah, so,
Strange they chose here.
yeah, it's bizarre. I think
I mean, it's not exactly short of ice and snow in Canada.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. I think just our accessibility, obviously, we're so close to the highway and
Yeah,
stuff like
and they
that.
can stay in a hotel and
Yeah, exactly right. Also, given that in the past, this glacier's been used for like a ton of scientific study as well, of course. And during the sort of Cold War and World War II, we had a lot of Americans,
Training.
British, and Canadians coming out to do winter warfare testing. They had a lot of commandos actually from Scotland that were mainly shepherds and outdoorsmen who they really wanted to like get them into mountaineering, get them used to obviously these cold Russian winters and stuff like that. If they needed to. So there's no shortage of like human activity out on the glacier. Our Saskatchewan Glacier, just to the south there, if you go hiking there today, you'll actually find artillery shells buried there still throughout. Or hopefully you won't find them, but it's warning signs everywhere. And the Americans actually lost a Jeep in one of the crevasses out there that they never recovered.
well, I mean, they go on for how deep.
Yeah,
100
exactly.
meters. I mean,
right.
to go down just to go and get it.
Yeah, it's no easy.
Wait
feat.
1,000 years and it'll pop out. You know.
Exactly, right?
I mean, they had that the Arctic where they're suddenly finding aircraft. I think just the other day.
yeah,
They
like
found a
World War
World
II
War II
plane.
plane.
Yeah, crazy.
Started to come out, so
Yeah.
still in perfect condition. So will the Jeep.
Yeah, well, the glacier is like perfect at preserving any of those materials that'll land. So think things like meteorites, ash, forest fires, really well preserved. And so scientists can kind of take big samples out of the ice and learn things about like our climate system. Even little air bubbles might get frozen into that ice, and they can sort of determine what gases
yeah.
are present.
What sort of air quality was
Yeah,
back then?
yeah, exactly right. So you like nitrogen, your hydrogen levels, things like that. Not only that as well, I actually heard about a glacier in Iceland following the Chernobyl disaster. A lot of that nuclear radiation, that decay kind of drifted across there, and they were even able to find some of that fallout like 40 years later in the ice. Turning a lot of that water coming off of it was not drinkable as well because of
Would be.
the fallout across there.
Yeah, give it a few thousand years.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
the
the
half-life
sad.
of it.
Yeah, that's the sad thing with that kind of. Yeah, it's like EVs and everything else. They're brilliant, except for the negative component.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
when they burn,
That
can't
lithium.
stop them. And nuclear has the same problem.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, when it goes wrong, it's a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, yeah, EVs have got a long way to go.
Yeah, for
Before
sure.
they become, I mean, in this country, how can you even remotely think of using an EV? In
You
this
look at how
temperature,
fast it is, yeah.
well, the temperatures. As the
Yeah.
temperature drops, the battery crashes. So the EV is fine. The battery technology is years off.
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
20 years at least.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we're using rare earth minerals. They're limited, hence the term rare earth. You know, if it was just normal salt, it'd be easy. You know, so they're having a lot of work to do to get there.
Yeah, and then they're mentioning like hydrogen, and that's even more
Well, I
combustible
mean,
and
you
stuff
know, the hybrid. So a small little engine like this thing's got charges the batteries on the level road. It needs to go uphill. Batteries come in, so you
like that braking as well. That inertia.
that should have been our first step to becoming a healthier planet. Not go straight to battery and then nobody has the slightest clue how to deal with it.
Yeah, there's so many
I mean,
factors.
you know, they just burst into flame for no apparent reason, all because of one faulty cell in the 10,000 in your car. These are all the problems that nobody wanted to deal with. You know?
Yeah, it's way outside my pay.
Yeah, yeah. The problem is you're having to deal with it. I'm on the way out in that sense, in years left.
Yeah, it's
You've
a
still
bit of
got a lot left.
That herd mentality as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? As well,
and everybody's got to have one. Fine. The normal grids in every suburb anywhere in the world cannot cope with
Yeah, totally.
everybody charging at homes. Can never happen. You need atomic energy to produce the clean electricity to do that. And never mind the manufacturing from day one of that vehicle to it becoming a component again. So the full evolution of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing healthy about it.
Does the UK use a lot of nuclear power?
We've got two
Okay.
power plants. Whether
Yeah.
they are actually functioning, I know they're trying to shut them down.
Yeah. Okay.
Go with the solar and the wind turbines, which I don't know if you heard the other day with Spain and it, they had blackout.
Oh no.
Yeah, the whole of Spain and Portugal, no power.
Really?
For about 8 hours, the whole country.
It's not
because
ideal.
of alternate energy.
Yeah, there you go. That's
So
ideal.
there's just too. Everybody has to be on the little buzzword, and nobody wants to be not seen to be playing the game. And instead of saying, no, people, really, let's get our system working, get it all sorted. I mean, like Jasper's fire, and you've got a electric fire engine. But the power lines are burnt away. How are we charging it?
Yeah, totally.
Just look at the simple things. I've been to we have you're talking about the pyramids.
Yeah.
I've been to Giza. I've been to the pyramids, and I'm a technical person. And I look at what they built, and then you look at Cairo itself, and you think, no, there is no way you built that. You're going to Europe, and you go and see a 600-year-old church.
Yeah, sure.
And then you look at the buildings, you can see the curve of growth of technology.
Sure, yeah.
It's there. And then, as I said, you look at the pyramids, and then you look at the... No. My feeling is that the Nubians, who are the predominant population there, going back far enough, walking through the desert, everything's got that same undulating, and then suddenly they saw something sharp, which would have been the top of the pyramid, and I thought, different? We'll go and see what that is. Arrived there was nobody there, and took ownership of it. About 3,000 years ago, it doesn't matter, but you didn't build it. You just took ownership. As I said, when you're looking at those the rocks of Giza, about the size of this vehicle, in size completely, and you will not get a razor blade between them. I checked.
Yeah.
I did that. I
Yeah,
checked.
they always say they don't. It's such a wonder as well.
Just the mathematical equations. I mean, on the one part, don't mess with this stuff.
Sure. Cameras as well. You just want to field the view. On kind of on our front, both our sides. Perfect. bit of time out here. Just be very careful when you're walking. There can be some little puddles just to keep an eye out for. So just really pay attention to where you're stepping. And it should be pretty grippy out there. We'll grab you some crampons just from the back there, just to give you a bit of extra grip.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, enjoy. Thank you. Alright, just gonna quickly relocate. We're parked in a bit of a puddle right now.